Hi friends, I'm Katie. Welcome back to my studio. I'm really excited to show you guys this. So it doesn't look its best self. I didn't have an A5 binder for it, so I've just kind of thrown something together in my studio, but I will make something nicer. But that's not the point. This is my fountain pen compendium, and I got the idea from watching Ginger Peachy Stationery. She may have changed her channel to Ginger Peachy Pens. I'll put a link to her video below. She had talked about putting rings in an A6 binder so that she could move her ink journal into there. And that got my mind going. I didn't really have an ink journal. I had like kind of a currently inked notebook, but it wasn't really serving a lot of purposes. And then I do have my little ink swatch booklet here, but I wanted something more thorough. And trust me, this is thorough. I'm a little afraid I won't be able to keep up with it, but I really enjoyed making it, and I'll show it to you. You can decide if it's something that interests you as well. So I decided to go with A5 because it only involves cutting the paper once, and that's really easy. This is A4 paper. I bought months ago. I bought this Kikuyo KB paper, which is very fountain pen friendly. It's not quite as nice as like Tomoe River paper, but it's really quite good and pretty affordable. It's heavier, it's like 75 GSM, and my printer takes it just fine. I have a laser printer. I don't know how it would work on an inkjet printer. I do have an inkjet printer, but because I also have a laser printer, that's what I used. But I don't know that you'd need to print anything. I just printed these graph on here just because it makes things easier. So I printed that, cut it, punched it, and then I have several different sections. So in the front, the sections I have are kind of for ink family comparisons, and I did a separate page for everything I kind of considered an ink color family. This was really a lot of decisions here that weren't that easy to make, but this one is particularly hard. It's also hard to do these in rainbow order, which I tried to do, but they seem to always defy good organization. But these are like some kind of purples. These are more like muted. I was trying to think of like what things might you want to see next to each other, and I know I'm going to buy more ink, so I left plenty of room. These are warm browns, although that one's not actually that warm, but I think of it as being a warm brown, so it's helpful to have it here and actually compare it. These are like my reds. Not a lot of reds. My pink browns. My bright reds. The other was more like dull reds. Oh, also on Ginger Peachy's advice, I cut slits so that I can easily take things in and out. These are like my pink reds-ish. And I don't know if you noticed, some of these things are here multiple times because they're about what I might want to compare them to. Now, obviously I cannot always pull things out of my little swatch book, but they're just kind of little comparisons. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see what I mean. These are all my browns, but also Ancient Copper, which is an orange, but it's also kind of a brown. You know, it's orangier than SBRE brown, so you know, it's helpful. Here, yellows, like look how like this is really closer to green, but I do kind of think of it as yellow for mixing purposes. I use it as like a cool yellow, so it's helpful to have it there. A whole lot of greens. I'll skip to the end, which is really where this got started, which is like my obsession with gray purples. Some of these are kind of gray blues, it turns out, but like I definitely wanted to have one where I could compare all my gray purples together, because I definitely like think of this as being a gray purple, but when I see it with the others, you know, it's way purpler than some of them, so that's kind of fun and helpful. So anyway, that's the first section. The second section are all of the individual inks. And this is where I'm going to log when I ink something. So for example, there should be one right here. This Yoseka ink I just inked today, and so it's nice to like actually see it written with a pen. I did used to write these on these swatches, and I might continue to do that, but I kind of want a log of every time I use an ink and what nib it's in. I found that for me it's more helpful to talk about it in terms of what nib I'm using. Sometimes a nib is integrated into the pen, but for me, I swap nibs in and out. I think the nib is the more useful thing to denote how that turns out. So I've got these for every ink currently in my possession. It took hours. I got a lot of ink. They're almost all samples. I have very few bottles, but I do have a lot of samples. Here's like my Esterbrook SD. I guess this one I did mark the model, but also what nib it was in. So, you know, still figuring it out. So that's section 2. Section 3/4 are all my pens and all my nibs. So, for example, this is my Pilot Steel Extra Fine. I bought this in a Kakuno, but I've since moved it to a Prera. So this is just about the nib, so I can see how inks look in that super extra fine nib that the Pilot makes. I haven't decided, so I have several different Yovo Steel Extra Fine nibs. I'm thinking I might just log them like they're all the same. I don't think I want to figure out how to like denote them separately. We can see if they look different, but I think that's probably fine. This is one of my new custom nibs. Definitely will want to track that with different inks. My new cursive italic pen and nib that I just inked. Some of these, you know, aren't inked now at the time of at the time that I made this compendium. So that's all my nibs, almost. And then these are all for my pen bodies. So some of them, like my Vanishing Point, I'm not switching nibs in. So I only have this here in the pen section, not in the nib section. But this, for example, is just a pen body, and so I'm marking what ink is in it, but also what nib is in it for this particular inking. So, is it kind of compulsive? Yes. Am I certain I'm going to be able to keep up with it? No. Did I find it fun to make? Also, yes. Do I enjoy logging things? Also, yes. So, hopefully, it will serve me well. At the very least, I got to spend some quality time with my pens and my inks, and that's kind of what I needed at the time. So, I hope you found this interesting. Let me know in the comments. Do you keep an ink journal? Do you keep any resources? I do also use a little bit the fountain pen companion, which is online. You know, there are a lot of options, but I'm curious to hear what you use, so leave that in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to hear more from me, you can hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, friends.